This is Sunday School. Today we are going to talk about Genesis 45. And in Genesis 45, we're going to see how Joseph is going to make himself known to his brothers after he has been testing them to know if they really are what they say they are, if they are changed people. He finally disclosed to them who he was. And let's see their reaction. Let's dive into the chapter and see. In verse 1, then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, "Have everyone leave my presence." So there was no one with Joseph when he made himself known to his brothers. So he has to ask his attendants, those domestic staff that work with him, to leave them alone. And that was when he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. Wow. So he cried so loud that the other people heard that Joseph's brothers were there, and he was so emotional. He was crying. In verse 3, Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still living?" But his brothers were not able to answer him because they were terrified at his presence. Wow, they were shocked because they were not expecting him to be alive. They were so shocked. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Come close to me." When they had done so, he said, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. And now do not be distressed, and do not be angry with yourselves for selling me here, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." So you see, this can ring a bell in their ears, in their minds, that what they were doing, they thought they were doing it in revenge because he was having those high esteem dreams, and their father loved him so much and sewed a coat of many colors, because those were his crimes he committed. Because he had two major dreams that were telling them about the future, that he will be a ruler over them, and they didn't want to accept that. And their father loved him, and they didn't want to accept that. Their father sewed a coat of many colors for him to show his love for him, and they didn't want to accept that. So they decided to take him out amongst them. And listen, look at what he's telling them now. He said, "Don't blame yourselves for selling me as a slave to Egypt. God sent me ahead of you to save lives." And in verse 6, "For 2 years now there has been famine in the land, and for the next 5 years there will be no plowing and reaping. But God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, and to save your lives by a great deliverance. So then it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me father to Pharaoh, lord of his entire household, and ruler of all Egypt." So you see, he's still consoling them. They should be the one to console him, but now he is telling them, "God has sent me here, not you, to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh has made me lord of his household for this great deliverance. Now hurry back to my father and say to him, 'This is what your son Joseph says. God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Don't delay.'" That was the message he gave to them in verse 9. "You shall live in the region of Goshen and be near me, you, your children and grandchildren, your flocks and herds, and all you have. I will provide for you there, because 5 years of famine are still to come. Otherwise, you and your household and all who belong to you will become destitute. You can see for yourselves, and so can my brother Benjamin, that it is really I who am speaking to you. Tell my father about all the honor accorded me in Egypt, and about everything you have seen, and bring my father down here quickly." So that was the instruction Joseph gave to his brothers. Go tell my father everything you have seen. How God has placed me in this land in high esteem position. Hurry and bring my father down here. I want to see him. In verse 14, then he threw his arms around his brother Benjamin and wept. And Benjamin embraced him, weeping. And he kissed all his brothers and wept over them. Afterward, his brothers talked with him. When the news reached Pharaoh's palace that Joseph's brothers had come, Pharaoh and all his officials were pleased. Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Tell your brothers, do this, load your animals and return to the land of Canaan, and bring your father and your families back to me. I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you can enjoy the fat of the land." That was Pharaoh's promise to them. You never mind about your belongings, because the best of all Egypt will be yours. So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them cats as Pharaoh had commanded, and he also gave them provisions for their journey. So everything about Joseph pleases Pharaoh, and he too ordered that they send provisions with Joseph's brothers down to meet their father and bring him down. And they were going to give them the best part of the land to settle. So the sons of Israel did this. Joseph gave them the cats. Okay, let's go to verse 23. And this is what he sent to his father. What Joseph sent to his father, Jacob, in Canaan. 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and other provisions for his journey. That was provision for Jacob and for his journey down to Egypt. So they went up out of Egypt and came to their father Jacob in the land of Canaan. They told him, "Joseph is still alive. In fact, he is ruler of all Egypt." Jacob was stunned. He did not believe them. But when they told him everything Joseph had said to them, and when he saw the cats Joseph had sent to carry him back, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, "I am convinced my son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." That was Jacob's response. And that is the end of chapter 45. But there is something very important in this chapter. Now the whole of Israel and his family are going to move down to Egypt through Joseph. But if you go in the previous videos at the beginning, when God was making his commandments with Abraham, their forefather, God told Abraham that he's going to give them the land of Canaan in their possession. But his people will be in a foreign land as foreigners, and they will be enslaved there for 400 years. And this is the manifestation that is going to come in place. Now Joseph has revealed himself to his brother, and they have ordered, together with Pharaoh and his people, that Joseph's family should move down to Egypt. And they're going to stay in a special location in the land of Egypt. Pharaoh and his officials are going to give to Joseph's family. We're going to see what is going to unfold in the next chapters and in the next videos. I don't want to say everything here. Thank you.